Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown.
Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown!
Hurts on first down, fires downfield. It's Deshaun Jackson back in the lineup. Missed the last 7 games, and he will take it 81 yards. A somersault into the end zone. His first touchdown of the season.
You're listening to The Pigskin Project, the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen and Ryan Matthews.
Oh, yep, there we go. All right, there's Ben. All right. Okay, welcome back to The Pigskin Project, where all 3 of us are here. We still have yet to change that audio bit. Hopefully we get that fixed this off-season. Welcome to the off-season, by the way. We have a new reigning Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Ben, how are you feeling this week?
Brother, mentally, it's just at an all-time high. I couldn't believe it. The game, it was a sense of euphoria. I was at a loss of words and everything, when the game was finished up. It was just such a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Physically, I have a sinus infection, so if I sound a little weird and tired, that's why. But there's no way I was going to miss this podcast. Eagles are Super Bowl champions, baby! Anyways.
Matt, your basketball team just killed mine. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I have a head coach, and we plucked him from those dastardly Eagles. So that's beautiful. It's been a long time coming for me, but I'm excited to talk some ball.
Let's go ahead and talk about it here. Kellen Moore took the Saints' job. That one felt, like it was kind of a dead giveaway right after the Super Bowl. Matt, what's your overall thoughts on this and the fact that, it looks like Brandon Staley's going to be the defensive coordinator for you as well, as far as rumors go?
Yeah, I'm excited for Kellen Moore, as excited as I can be for a head coach with the Saints, because, they're going to be in teardown mode. They should be at least, and I don't think any coach was going to walk through the door to make this roster winnable. He's the youngest coach in the NFL. He's 36. He was linked to the Cowboys job. I'm just glad it's not Mike McCarthy, man. I really am, because I feel like that would have been just another dead end for this team, just like Dennis Allen was. Kellen Moore can give you a frontal path, whether that is cutting Derek Carr this offseason, whether that is restructuring him just to keep moving the cap, whatever, to get compliant over the next few years. Whatever it is, it gives the Saints a path of success, in my opinion, because I think the best track for success in hiring a head coach is hiring a young offensive name who has production and success around the league. So I'm as excited as I can be as a Saints fan.
Mm-hmm. Ben, you have a lot of experience around Kellen Moore, playing against him, playing with him. What's your take about it? Because now hopefully you're rooting for him in a way, at least in a minimum sense.
No, absolutely. I'm excited that he was able to get a head coaching job. Like you said, it kind of felt like it was always going to be the Saints, kind of down, the stretch, the week leading up to the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni tried to make his pitch. Mainly, I'm a bit disappointed that Jalen Hurts now has his 10th offensive play caller in 10 years at this point. Get this man some continuity. But, for the same reason Matt was happy about, the process of the head coach, I'm really excited to see what the process of, the OC hiring does. I just hope that they don't fall into the same trap that they did after the 2017 Super Bowl, where they just hired from within. If they hire from within, awesome. If that guy is the best candidate, i.e. Kevin Patullo. But I just want them to do what's right, go out, kind of look at a Slowick, a Josh McCown, a Kevin Patullo, and I'm excited to see where it goes. If I had to guess now, it was probably going to be Kevin Patullo, our quarterback coach. But good to see it, getting there. And like Matt said, I think the best way to go about it, in terms of building a team, is getting a young offensive mind. Something like the last 8 Super Bowl winners were offensive-minded head coaches. So that's a way to rebuild the franchise, especially when you're struggling at the quarterback position.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. I think that, finally somebody took it, because it was just to me, after looking at this coaching, cycle kind of go through, I was getting nervous for you, because I was afraid that you'd kind of get the table scraps of the coaching cycle, whereas Kellen Moore is actually a very good offensive play caller. I'm looking forward to seeing where Derek Carr stands in terms of this franchise and what direction they want to go in, because apparently they think of Spencer Rattler as somebody that's kind of up and coming. He has a higher ceiling than what most think. And so, I'm looking forward to see what direction they go. I know that you enjoy your fair share of Rattler, when push comes to shove. And I also know for those of you that don't know Matt as well, just because I know that we are adding him onto the podcast within the most recent weeks, long term, Matt is probably one of the most, bigger picture minded kind of guys, to where if it takes multiple years to get to where you want to go, Matt's the guy that can fully understand that and get behind that. And I respect that, because as somebody that's very impatient and the complete opposite of that, I find it very hard to do. So, in the scenario that it is Rattler, I feel like Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but that'd be something that you'd be interested in, especially because Derek Carr has not lived up to expectations when he got him. So, I'm excited to see what direction this goes in. Obviously, we'll probably get an answer within the next month or so. This is kind of the period in which things kind of start slowing down a little bit. However, I'm excited to see exactly what kind of smoke arises from the combine here in the next couple of weeks. So, fingers crossed, we might get you some combine stuff, but it's not guaranteed. Not like normally is. But anyways, we'll go ahead and move on to the next point. Deebo Samuel and the 49ers have decided that they're going to go their separate ways, essentially. They met after the season concluded, and after their meeting, they basically said that, Deebo approached them saying, "I'd like a trade." The 49ers have since given him the opportunity to seek a trade with his agent. So where do you guys think, and there's still one player left, that we still have to talk about, that also requested a trade, but let's start with Deebo, because it's the offensive side and the side of the ball that most people are focused on. We'll start with Ben. What team do you think is most likely to make a move for him, or where do you think would be the most attractive spot for him?
Deebo's one of those hard players that's one of the harder players to predict where he's going to end up, just because he has a very unique skill set, we'll say. I feel like it's a lot easier to predict, maybe where Devontae Adams is going to go, or where Cooper Kupp is going to go. So it's really hard, at least as of right now, to see what team is going to trade him or trade for him, especially with the cap hit he has. From the Niners side, it kind of felt inevitable after the season he had, and kind of the cap hit he has, opening up that extra space. I'm sure they were fairly happy that he requested a trade, that they didn't have to come off as bad guys when they said that they were going to shop him around. So,
any team in mind for you?
I couldn't tell you. I wish. I couldn't tell you.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think stemming on Ben's point, he's a very specific skill set that you have to welcome in, and you kind of have to allocate the touches very close to the line of scrimmage, rather than, because he's 29 years old. He doesn't separate at a high level. He never really has. He's just this guy, you get the ball in his hands, he's an extension of your run game. So any of those teams that are looking to kind of expand the run game, they run like a lot of tight formations, a lot of, 12 personnel. He could be one of those guys that you put in the backfield, something like that. Like a team I can't really think of off the top of my head. But overall, like it's just hard to pin down where Deebo Samuel is going to fit in like a glove. Like I guess you could say Miami because there's, relationships built up there and there's already Tyreek Hill, frustration, things like that. But they already have a ton of juice on their offensive end. They don't need to invest another, say, a draft pick via trade to get a Deebo Samuel. They've already invested a ton. So it's hard to pin down like an exact team to Deebo Samuel at the moment, but we'll find out over the course.
Yes.
All right. And then the next, I was thinking Texans in mind because I would expect them to move on from Stephon Diggs. I think it would be a lot of fun to get
losing
him there.
Diggs, Tank Dell out next season makes a ton of sense.
That'd be really cool. Next up, we have Jermaine Pratt requesting a trade today. That's really interesting to me. Where are you guys with all of this, Ben? Or I'll start with you.
Well, for those who have known me and have watched the podcast for, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. I guess we had the podcast at that point. Huge Jermaine Pratt fan. Like, I absolutely loved him. That I'm sure has some connections with him based off of the school and everything that he had went to as well. But I love Jermaine Pratt, captain, signal caller for them. It really just comes down to who's looking to add, linebackers and stuff. He has some really strong connections to obviously Lou Anarumo, their DC. If we're talking about trade destinations, I wouldn't be completely shocked if the Colts said, like, here's a 6th-round pick for him, again, because that connection that he has with Lou. But again, he's just one of those solid linebackers. You know what you're getting. He's not going to be anything absolutely special, but he's not going to be a liability at all, and he knows how to run those defenses. So the Colts are kind of the team I'm looking at, but anyone who gets him is going to get a real solid middle linebacker.
I agree. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because someone last year, remember Ernest Jones? Like, Ernest Jones was one of the best linebackers in football, it felt like, for the few years that it was just, like, his compensation was so low that I don't know what teams are going to put out for Jermaine Pratt necessarily. Like, a 6th-round pick, like, that kind of matches trade compensation for a guy like him. Like, 28 years old, good run defender, can be, strong side, weak side. Overall, like, is it just a money thing? Is it who's going to pay me the most? He still has 1 year on his contract, so maybe it's that. Maybe he just sees the writing on the wall with Cincinnati, and they don't pay their guys. They just wait out until the last year, the last possible year they can do it, so he's kind of just getting ahead of it, and maybe he goes to some place who's looking for linebacker depth, and they'll pay him the money into his 30s, so...
That's
I'm looking forward to
the
seeing...
interesting conversation.
Oh, yeah.
That's the interesting conversation that I wanted to bring up. What was the Ernest Jones? Like, when he got traded, I remember, like, actually being like, "That's it? That's all he got traded for?" And
it was to a team who didn't even pay him. They just, like, viewed him as an asset and then traded him again at the deadline. Like, it was just off-ball linebackers in a fascinating spot, folks.
Yes, no, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But yeah, that was like the big. It's like makes trading for those linebackers hard. Trying to predict that, it's just they don't go for much. Even the top tier guys like Matt had mentioned and Ernest Jones, they just don't go for pretty much anything. So it's interesting.
For sure. Moving on. Another wide receiver getting arrested. Not a fun situation. Kadarius Toney. This is probably the end of the line. I would imagine, for him. He's hasn't lived up to expectations of being that first round pick, let alone a second or third round pick at this point in the NFL. But once drafted by the first round by the Giants, then moved on to Kansas City, and now I think he had a stunt in Cleveland.
He's just on a practice squad, yeah. If anything.
Yeah, so I would imagine he's done after he has been arrested for assault. You could do your own research on that if need be, but we're not going to really dive in too deep to it. But it's not that great of a situation. So last but not least, my favorite news of the week, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be a Jet in 2025. He met with the front office. My favorite part about all of this as a Aaron Rodgers hater is that they flew him all the way back to New Jersey to talk to it and say it to his face. Hey, we don't want you on our team. And then he kind of went back home. So it's like new era in New York. It makes me really curious as well because, there's obviously a couple quarterbacks that are on the market. There's another team in New York that needs, needs a quarterback. But nonetheless, they did draft a quarterback in Jordan Travis. I wonder what they think of him. I know that it was kind of a late round pick, but, coming out of Florida State, he did a really, really good job in college, although he did have a pretty devastating injury. It makes me curious, this was a pretty, star-studded draft in 2024. My first question, which I'll start with Matt on this one and then move to Ben since we started with Ben on the last two. Unrelated to Aaron Rodgers, if Jordan Travis never had that injury, because 2024 is mainly the first draft that I really focused on. If he never had that injury, where was he projected in your eyes to be drafted? And do you think there's any potential upside for him going forward in the league, or if they're going to be looking elsewhere?
Probably a round higher. Older prospect, had limited, he was a capped athletic body already. So maybe we could talk him into, earlier in the 5th round, because I believe he went in the 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
He went in the 5th.
I mean, you could push him up around, you could push him up 50 spots ish. No, but it is fascinating for them if they do turn to a guy like Jordan Travis, because like I said, he is an older prospect, but we clearly saw this season, Penix in his limited time. Bo Nix was great this season, and obviously Jaden Daniels. These older prospects came in and had spurts, or one of them a spurt to the NFC Championship, that they really recognized the game in a real way, and maybe he could do that too. So it's a way to kind of reset your money, playing on a rookie contract, kind of just let's map this out, because that seems like the Aaron Glenn way. Seems like Aaron Glenn has a vision, has a plan. Aaron Rodgers was not in that plan or vision, and he shouldn't be, because he's 40 years old and he's grumpy. So why would I want that guy around my building playing quarterback? So I think the Jets can attack so many angles at the quarterback position this year.
Ben, what do you think?
Jordan Travis, I wasn't really sold on him as a prospect. Probably the quarterback behind Joe Milton, if I had to just guess off my quarterback rankings if he wasn't hurt. For me, though, obviously I'm gonna take a chance to plug my quarterback in this draft class, and I've said it for a very long time. Tyrod Taylor right now is currently the projected starter for them. I would not be mad if the Jets waited until the 2nd round, trade back, and get a guy like Jalen Milroe. The offense can look similar with their abilities to run on and their ability to kind of move. And again, if you take Milroe, it's a conversation we've had numerous times. He has to sit. Don't play him. Aaron Glenn, I beg you, if that's the route you go, don't get greedy and say, we're going to throw him into week 5. You have to understand that he's just going to sit all year no matter how bad Tyrod Taylor looks. But I think that'd be a fun aspect to kind of explore, and I think Tyrod Taylor would be a really good mentor for a guy like Milroe. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, Matt has brought something to our attention that he has a game for us to play. So, Matt, what do we got?
All right. I have 7 quarterbacks here. Free agents, mostly. Some guys could get cut. I just want to see, where do you guys think, right after the Super Bowl, where are they playing in 6 months? Kind of just a fun little appetizer. We love talking quarterbacks. Everybody loves talking quarterbacks. So, first name, of course, has to be obvious, Aaron Rodgers.
The couch.
Yeah, I would be shocked if the team.
You both think he's going to
tries do
retire
it again?
In 6 months, the only team I could potentially see him play for is like the Steelers, because I know that he had previous interest in playing for Mike Tomlin, and they have a spot. They don't look to be retaining Justin Fields, and I would assume that Russell Wilson would be asking for more money. So, yeah, that's probably going to be my only answer for that one. Unless he wants to go to the Giants and play the Jets. That'd be cool.
The couch. No, I think he's gonna retire. I think he's getting up there in age. He looked like he didn't have it in him anymore after this season. I think he's gonna retire. I think he's gonna step away from football. And then a bit of a side note for those who are watching live and then watching back. There's a bit of like a news delay in my mic, so if you guys see a little bit of confusion, that's a little bit why. There's an audio and video delay for me. So,
My guess for Aaron Rodgers would be Las Vegas. All right, next quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Who's Matthew Stafford playing?
In 6 months, he's playing for the Rams. He's going to still stay in Los Angeles, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yes. No, the Rams. Yeah. That's where I think it has to be the Rams. They don't have a succession plan unless you want to go Stetson Bennett, which is ridiculous and funny. I think it's the Rams.
All right. Yeah, I think that one was pretty obvious. I think they'll work it out. I think if you're moving on from Cooper Kupp, you have plans to keep Matthew Stafford around. Next one, the prize of the offseason, Sam Darnold. Where's Sam Darnold playing?
Vegas, where he'll die, basically. Not die, but like his career is going to die.
Yeah. He'll get a big contract.
Yeah.
Me and Ryan, I guess, are in kind of lockstep with this one. Vegas is kind of where I can't. No, they don't have the money for that. There is a quarterback I'd like to see in Cleveland. Hopefully, Matt asks about it.
I was gonna say, yep. I just thought,
but Vegas. So,
all right. I think I don't have a pinned down name, but the Giants are fascinating to me, especially at 3, because I don't think there's a.
See, could we see a kind of a reunite Sam Darnold with the New York Jets? I think it's a fun possibility. I don't think it's gonna happen. But I think it's fun, and I do see a lot of Jets fans who are like, "Bring him home."
I think it would suck for everybody involved.
Like, hypothetical to think. Yes.
I think like the Jets would just get back on expensive money at the position. They wouldn't be in a position to compete right away, and like Aaron Glenn would be sick of him by week 11. So I don't think that. I don't think it works for anybody involved. All right, next, Russell Wilson. Where's Russell Wilson playing?
Oh God. I mean, is this where I say the Giants then?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, him and Neighbors would be fun. Is Geno Smith a free agent this year?
No.
No? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then I'll say either the Giants or the Raiders. I think that him and Pete Carroll again is too appealing for the front office to not only, consider, but maybe pursue. So I would probably lean Vegas more for him than anybody else.
That's kind of funny. Again, that's exactly where I was thinking, even though we both just said Sam Darnold there as well. The connection, they love each other, Pete Carroll and Russ. That kind of seems like the obvious answer there, especially if they want to draft a guy in the second round to develop. Russ isn't going to be your quarterback in the future for the next 5 years. You can sign him to a 2-3 year deal and try to develop someone behind Russ.
All right. I like it. I don't have a pin down Russ location. I really don't.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear opinions. All right, next one. He hasn't been cut yet, I don't think. I don't know if he will be cut, but Kirk Cousins is on my list, so I think he would be an appealing free agent.
Browns.
Okay.
Yeah. That's exactly when Ryan threw out the Browns for another quarterback. That's where, I stepped in and said, I have an idea of where, what quarterback I want there, and I think it'll be Kirk.
Jameis Winston.
Ooh. I love him. Fox Sports. That's my answer.
The Giants. I think the Giants. I think that's a good fit. Jameis isn't gonna step in and isn't gonna be your starting quarterback, obviously, long term, as we've seen. But that offers them flexibility if they want to take a guy and kind of not start him right away. You can go and throw Jameis there and shoot. The Giants fans need joy in their life.
If you want a legitimate answer, a team answer from me, I'll probably say Atlanta. I want him backing up Michael Penix.
That's fair. I don't hate that. All right, last but not least, he's been compared to a Super Bowl champion, Justin Fields. Where's he playing?
Oh, man. Welcome to New York, baby. He'll be sitting there with the New York Jets. That's going to be their last-ditch effort. They want to pair I'd like to see Garrett Wilson and him on the same team. That'd be really cool. I think that might be one of their last-ditch efforts to try and appeal to Wilson because he is not a happy camper right now. Fields is one of his guys, and, it would really bring the next step in Jets football, I think, to, the modern era of football, at least. I think that Jets fans would eat this up. I think that a lot of people can sell themselves on the idea of Fields. You just saw the thing in Pittsburgh. And whenever, Wilson did something bad, they wanted Fields. And sorry, I almost said Hurts. Same guy. But anyways, I just think, legitimately speaking, that he could do a good job, and he has weapons there, between Lazard and Garrett Wilson. I think he'd succeed more there than Pittsburgh.
I do think he would succeed more with the Jets than he would with Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh doesn't have a quarterback. They're not really in a position to take one right now either. I think he's just going to stay there in Pittsburgh and be a Steeler.
Pittsburgh's already said that they don't want him. I just want to say, they basically said, we're basically going to let him go because we don't think that he can lead this team. So.
All right. That was all the quarterbacks. I don't think there was anyone, unless you want to talk about Mac Jones and Trey Lance. Those are all the major names that are going to hit the market.
Is there a chance that a Deshaun Watson gets cut?
No,
I know they'd be sitting on a whole lot of.
They already restructured his deal. It is impossible. I will say that.
Yeah. All right. Let's give him his flowers. Ben, you have the floor, man. Talk about your team, bro. I mean, you just curb stomped the two-time multiple time, I guess, but back-to-back champions. I mean, just absolutely threw him to the wayside. I will have plenty to say about this. However, you won the Super Bowl, man. Please, please, please eat this up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have a whole bunch of different points. I have stuff. I have 4 different points about kind of the game and stuff that impressed me. And then I have just 4 kind of broader points about just either team. And we can kind of do the game, see everyone's opinion on the game, then I can get into those 4 broader points afterwards. But I mean, really, man, the 2 things that I was just absolutely impressed by was obviously the defense. That defensive line wrecked the game. Poor Patrick Mahomes just didn't stand a chance. We saw even when he wasn't under pressure, he still had a faster clock than what he was used to. We saw that on that 4th down attempt to D-Hop. But that defensive line absolutely dominated, and I was so impressed with their ability to basically shut them out for the majority of the game. Obviously, the score doesn't tell how much of a blowout that game actually was. 2 of those touchdowns came in garbage time against, the backup defenders at that point. But that defense, and specifically that defensive line, was just absolutely dominant. And then on the other side of that, I was impressed with the Eagles' ability to run a very, very good offense that Barkley really wasn't a part of. And that's hard to say. He got 25 carries or something, but he wasn't the Saquon Barkley that we've seen for the first 17 games or whatnot of the season. Their ability to be on time, stay on time, hit the throws that they were supposed to was absolutely just immaculate. And Hurts's jump from where he was at just a year ago in that Bucs game, in his inability to recognize the blitz, his inability to do something when he was blitz, versus now was just ridiculous. That was kind of the talking point that we said about that Chiefs defense, was Fag's ability to dial up blitzes at key moments and get stops. And outside of that interception, he handled the blitz very, 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 very well. I was just so impressed. And then the last thing in terms of the game is their ability to kind of retool this defense was wild. They got 2 corners in the draft who were rookies that made a substantial impact in this game. And not to shoot too many shots towards Matt, but their ability to turn what was a special teamer kind of fringe roster guy at that point in Zach Bond into an all-pro linebacker is absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, Vic Fangio. You have changed my life forever. That is for sure. But that's kind of the stuff I wanted to talk about in terms of the game. And then obviously the last point I wanted to make was after that Cooper DeJean pick 6 at that point, that felt like it was the turning point. It kind of felt like it was a game. Obviously, you can never sit comfortable with Patrick Mahomes. That was a clear turning point where it just didn't seem like the Chiefs were going to come back. But I'll open up the floor to everyone else.
Matt, please get your thoughts out there before I go AWOL.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best word I could put is it was a bludgeoning. For 3 quarters, they bludgeoned the Chiefs, who weren't just a team who found themselves into the Super Bowl. They'd won the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and they were going for a 3-peat. Just some stats. Mahomes had a negative .62 EPA per dropback for the first 3 quarters. It's the worst of any game in his career, and it's the second worst of any quarterback in a Super Bowl since 2000. Think about all the quarterbacks that have played in a Super Bowl since 2000. Mahomes' performance in those first 3 quarters were the second worst of any quarterback. And I assume it would be Jared Goff would be the number 1 guy. The Eagles in the first half had a 47% pressure rate. They did not blitz one singular time. What else does it need to say? And then last stat, of course, was the easy stat. Like, they didn't blitz across 42 dropbacks. They played cover 4 60% of the time, which was, let me see here. It was the third highest rate in any game by a defense since 2018, playing a singular coverage. And what is so good about cover 4 is it's quarters, so you have 4 deep players playing each quarter of the field, and you're always in a back pedal. You're never chasing somebody. Everything is always in front of you. The Eagles are the best tackling team in football. So when you keep everything in front of you and you tackle against a Chiefs team who is very horizontal, they are very side to side, more so than down the field. And like I compared Patrick Mahomes to running an Alex Smith offense last week. Like that's what it is. Everything is just get the ball out in space and let these guys run. Another fun little stat. The first offensive play of the game for the Chiefs was that little eye candy where Worthy runs out into the flat and they throw it backside curl to Juju and they get a first down on that. That was the only first down they had in the entire first half. The first play of the game. And then and then the offensive stuff. It was the best Jalen Hurts football game I had seen all season. Truly. Like in his career. Like everything was just so like they were so committed to stopping Barkley. What they did was they played a lot of close to the line of scrimmage, a lot of Justin Reed coming down, a lot of the nickel coming into the box to just fit out the run game. And it worked. They were tackling Barkley. They were not letting him get into space. They were not leaving their gaps undisciplined. And, well, Jalen Hurts said, well, fine. You're going to put one-on-one with A.J. Brown. My guys are going to win. You're going to give one-on-one to Devontae Smith late in the game. Fine, I'm going to check into a chop play, and he's going to beat your guy. Like, it was so tremendous. Everything they did overall, and like even the little stuff, like even special teams they dominated, because how many times were the Chiefs starting inside their own 20, inside their own 10? They created a Bond pick out of one of those punts. Even the Jalen Hurts interception where Nick Bolton comes in free in the A-gap, it's an interception for Brian Cook. It feels like a turning point. 3-0 for the Chiefs. Now the Eagles are getting the ball back in 2 minutes, and they're starting from their own 50. So it's like, it was just a bludgeoning in every facet of the way. It was the perfect recipe. Everything they did just for 3 hours, besides maybe the final quarter. It was a reckoning. And then like the only positive for the Chiefs, Xavier Worthy. Like that was it, and everything he got was in garbage time. Like it doesn't count, but hey, the stats live forever.
The points that I want to make are that was pretty much as close to perfect of a day that I could have had. I'll be completely honest with you. That was awesome. Ben, your team won. I'm happy for you. I was rooting for you the entire game from the jump. I remember the very first time there was that questionable call. I tried not to be too crazy in the chat because I know the ref stuff has been overwhelming this year. But that, what was it, an offensive pass interference call on A.J. Brown sent not just me, but Twitter into frenzy. And I am so happy that after that, regardless of what DeAndre Hopkins says, and you could say that I'm biased because I was rooting for the Eagles, I truly believe that the referees let the boys play in the biggest game of the year. And this is what happens. This is so not just well-deserved by the Eagles because they found out what it takes to beat the Chiefs, and it's to run them into the ground and keep your foot on the gas until the clock hits 0. Here's the thing, though, is that my take on the Chiefs this year and last year for that is they're not that great, okay? This year, to me, just proved that even more. And the wishy-washy sliminess of how their season went, whether you agree with me or not, the controversy surrounding it all, the fact that they just let it go is exactly what we've been asking for the referees and the officiating crews all around for the NFL playoffs. And this is what happened. And in the first quarter, all the way throughout, you're seeing them complain about calls and stuff like that. For me, I was so happy about that because now they're not getting in the way. You could say that I'm putting on my tinfoil hat or not. They were helped. Their hand was held all season long, and it didn't work out for them in the end. It just happened that way. And I will say, like, if it were any closer, I would not have been this happy because we all saw what happened in that fourth quarter. And Patrick Mahomes can score points, whether it's in garbage time or not. The dude threw a couple touchdowns in the fourth quarter, I believe, at least one of them to Worthy. That one was impressive. That might have just been I'm just chucking it up, screw it, at this point, we're losing anyway kind of throw. But, like, Worthy, for one, is going to have a very good career. I'm very excited to see where he goes. And Matt has talked to me multiple times about it and stuff. I'm still excited to see what happens in this offseason and whether or not they plan on bringing back Trey Smith. But this O-line did not play that well. I know majority of the pressures went from the left guard, who was a backup at that, and they had to do a little bit of shuffling as well with the left tackle. It's not an ideal situation to be with the Chiefs. However, like Ben said, when you have Patrick Mahomes, you pretty much always have a chance. And this was the one time this season that you knew that this game was over probably at halftime, okay? Whether or not Eagles thought about it, and I get it, but the way that momentum was feeling, the way that just, you could feel it in the air that this team had given up. You saw it on the sidelines coming out of half. This team was not the same Chiefs team that we were seeing the last 2 years when they won the Super Bowls. Because if you didn't already know, Patrick Mahomes has come back in each one of his Super Bowl victories, okay? He's 3-1 in the Super Bowl, make it 3-2 now because that's his fifth. But it's such a delight to me that we get a change of pace. Would I have been a little bit happier if it would have been the Bills or Ravens? Absolutely. Primarily the Bills, too, because I was rooting for them. I still think, to this day, the Bills or Ravens would have matched up better and played a better game than the Eagles. However, that wasn't the case. You saw my point proven. Case is closed. Let's get the offseason started. Enough complaining about the refs. I'm looking forward to seeing what the league does with the rules and everything. I hear that they're trying to do something about the first down marker, and that's going to be exciting. I know, what is it? What's the XFL? Not XFL, but you know what I'm saying. Whatever the football league is called for spring ball, they've integrated a chip into the ball to discover more of a correct positioning of the ball, so that when we have situations like what happened to Josh Allen late in the game against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, hopefully that stuff doesn't happen again. And I've really just preached that the chain gang is one of the most inconsistent rules, or I don't know, rules I guess is what I'll go with, but that's one of the most inconsistent things about the game right now. If we can fix that, at least you'll see a lot better football being played, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm hoping the league doesn't just stop there, though. I'm looking forward to it. We have a long off season. We have a lot prepped for you, and it starts with college players. Now, here's the thing.
Well,
we've got a couple things. Unless Ben's got more points on the Super Bowl, I apologize. I was
I kind of wanted.
I apologize.
You're fine. No. You're fine. Yeah, there were just a couple points, like broadly speaking, that I wanted to kind of mention. I wanted to give Howie his credit, because his ability to continue to build out very, very good rosters and kind of find these like guys, who are on the margins and turn them into impact players. In 2017, it was another Saints guy in Patrick Robinson. Now you have it in Zach Bond, which is funny. I just made that connection now. But then for him to continue to draft as well as he has in the last 4 or 5 years, and then pay his guys, and obviously he does it in a very unique way by adding a whole bunch of void years and restructures and putting everything on the back end. But his ability to kind of keep the core of the roster together is something that we don't see in football often at all. I mean, it's the same issue that the Bengals are running into right now. They don't have enough money to pay their quarterback and their top 2 wide receivers, but somehow the Eagles managed to make it work. So, wanted to give the props to Howie, by far the best GM, I think, in all of football right now. To that point, I think this is probably the best team that has been built since at least 2000. I know there's a little bit of a conversation for 2006, but his ability to make this roster and literally not have a hole anywhere on this roster was really impressive. And then a fun stat that I saw was the last white corner to get a pick six was Jason Sehorn against the Eagles in 2021 or in 2001. And if you can think back that far, who the head coach for the Eagles was Andy Reid. So I guess Andy Reid is just stuck with white corners taking pick sixes back on him. And then kind of the last one, and I know Matt probably has something to say about this, but Travis Kelce retiring, man. He just looked like he didn't have it in him anymore, especially in the Super Bowl. I'm really interested to kind of see what happens with him in the offseason. But before we move on to College Corner, your guys' thoughts on maybe Travis retiring or anything else?
He didn't have the effort. He didn't. I mean, he admitted that the effort was not there, and apparently he didn't lead the guys like he normally would. So in that aspect, it would suck to see him go because he's a legend and definitely, I would say, top 3 in his position at least. But, you know, he's one of the best to ever do it. If this is it, it's been a heck of a ride. I've loved to watch him play. But, you know, it would be interesting to see where they pivot. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, he's 36. And they already have a guy on the roster who does his skill set better than him at 36. So, I mean, if he does retire, then, you know, whatever. I think he does, the way he just kind of took in the moment. And maybe that was because he was on the precipice of a three-peat, and he really wanted to achieve that. But overall, it's been a decline, and this is how it should go. And Tom Brady and LeBron, in a sense, have kind of shown us, like, sometimes you don't decline as you age, but all these athletes, no matter how great you are, do decline at a certain point, and he's clearly hitting that cliff. So, yeah, I mean, he has a ton of business ventures outside of the game, specifically. So, I mean, if he does hang it up, he can. I think he would, but we'll see, man. There's nothing like coming back, and you have Patrick Mahomes throwing you the ball, so you never know.
Yeah. I would assume that that's it for this segment. So moving on to College Corner, you know, so here's the thing. We have a lot planned for this segment going forward. However, we're keeping it a little short just because it's right after Super Bowl week. The Super Bowl talk was the primary focus of today's episode. So in the scenario, you want to be up to date on all the newest prospects, who to look for in this draft. No matter who your team is, this is going to be the segment for you. I know individually we have topics and stuff in different segments that we can definitely talk about during the offseason, some of which that I have thought about that I haven't even shared yet with you guys. So that's why I'm saying, hey, this isn't quite set in stone yet, so I don't want to necessarily reveal anything right now, and kind of making the executive decision to don't do anything right now. Talk about it off air. Surprise you guys next week. So please tune in next week and find out about, you know, what we're doing in that aspect. I know mock drafts are coming. If you, follow our TikTok, Ben just put out a heck of a mock draft that's stirring up a lot of conversation, at least for Bears fans, but all over the place. I know there was an Eagles fan. Shout out to that guy that commented as well, that had some good conversation with Ben in the comment section. If you guys are interested to see exactly who and why Ben took them, and where, go ahead and check out our TikTok. You can see it at the bottom of the screen as well as far as what our @ is. We'd love to talk to you guys on there as well. But until next week, that's pretty much where College Corner stands. But just expect a lot on the prospects and stuff as well. Ben, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. No, yeah, like Ryan said, with the offseason kind of kicking into full effect, obviously expect a little bit of a break come, like, free agency opening and everything. But yeah, the kind of the main focus of this is going to kind of start shifting towards scouting and doing all of that. So pretty much on a weekly basis, you guys can probably expect a mock draft and then a positional ranking amongst kind of the three of us, kind of me and Matt leading the way a little bit in terms of where we have prospects ranked. Obviously, there's going to be fun discourse. We all see different players in different aspects, but that's going to kind of be the shift. We'll kind of see where next week takes us. I'm leaning towards offensive line. But again, we'll see where it takes us. If you guys want to tune into that, again, that's going to kind of be the big stuff, positional ranking heading into the draft and everything.
Yeah. Matt, anything to add for that segment?
No, going to be talking players. Make sure you're here.
So, last but not least, let's go ahead and dive into Weddle. I'll go ahead and share my screen here, and then we'll get this going. So, gentlemen, starting off with easy mode, I would hope. Hold on a minute. Yes. Yeah. All right, cool. Easy mode. I guess I'll start. We'll go with Caleb Williams. Okay. Ben?
Yeah. An AFC player, not a quarterback, kind of old, a little tall. Makes me think it's probably a wide receiver. Yeah, tight end based off of the number. Travis Kelce.
Matt?
So he's not a receiver. About 6'2". He's in the middle, so he's like 30-ish. Oh, man. In the AFC. Probably thinking too hard about this. But, yeah, just, I mean, it doesn't match up with the numbers, but George Pickens.
You guys are reading my mind. All right. We are looking at a wide receiver that's 6'2", a little bit older, and he's in either the AFC East or South. Okay. So, a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to shoot for Waddle, but I know it's not him. Okay, so now we have that division decided as well. So we're talking AFC South wide receiver that's 6'2".
Gabe Davis. Age doesn't work out there though.
He plays. Oh yeah. Davis is not in there. Okay, cool.
What?
Gabe Davis. No.
Tyler Boyd.
Well, that doesn't. Yeah, go ahead, throw Tyler Boyd in there.
Nailed it. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, as always. Dang it. Okay. All right, so it's not.
I'm waiting for the day that it does happen.
It'd be awesome.
Really tall feller, which Jordan Mailata.
It's a lineman who's 6'8".
Older too.
Trent. No, he's not that tall. Yeah, he's not that tall. going through all the teams in the West, now the South. Jake Matthews. Nah, he's not that
So we're looking west.
Yep.
32. Let's see. Trying to think. A line. Let's see. So we have division, height, position, age. I mean, I guess I'll go Trent just to see. Is he not in here? No. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, it's not him. Let's see. God, who else? Because I want to say
I have a pretty good idea of who it is.
I'm trying to think of anybody for those other teams. I'm going to wave my white flag because I'm Ben, go for
it. Calvin Beecham.
Okay. Matt, go for it.
But he was taller.
I mean, I don't think this guy is that old, but Rob Havenstein.
No, I think he's that old. Yeah.
Right.
32. Yeah, nailed it. All right. Props to Matt. Nice shot. Guys, anything left to say? Ben, any extra comments?
No. Interesting Bowl champions. Best feeling in the world. It'll just be interesting to see how the offseason goes, and I'm ready to get into my true love of football and scouting in the draft. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Really have a fun discourse with these other two guys here about the draft and really kind of get into the meat and bones of that. So excited to see where the podcast goes the next couple of months.
Ben?
Yeah, I second what Ben says. Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to, this is where I feel like I nerd out the most is talking about the draft, talking about these players, because I love the draft because it's the only way that we get new players into the NFL, and I love college football. So it's the one time where it's connected. So I've always felt invested in it. So I give my time. I watch these players. You can disagree with my opinion, but at least respect it because we all can disagree, but we can all exchange pleasantries with discourse talking about these players because we're all passionate about the same thing. So,
yeah.
Well, and that's exactly how me and Matt met each other was through draft talk. Obviously we knew each other in class and stuff, but that was kind of the foundation that built our friendship was the draft. I remember talking the first prospect that I really fell in love with and kind of shared with Matt was one of Fatu Melifonwu. So I'm excited to have you here for it this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next week, this has been the Pigskin Project. We want to thank Spotify for podcasters. Excuse me. Regional Radio Sports Network. Wow, if I can get my network right. And Uppercuts Grooming for helping us get this over with. Helping us grow as a podcast. Until next week, this has been the Pigskin Project. Thank you for tuning in. Holy cow.